Have you ever sat in your favorite chair, looked around your quiet home, and wondered, how did everything change so much? You used to be surrounded by noise, laughter, footsteps running through the hallway. Family dinners were loud and full of stories. There was always someone needing your help or your cooking. But now, the house is still and you're left wondering where everyone went or who they became. If this feels familiar, you're not alone. As we get older, family doesn't always look or feel the way it once did. And the truth is, no one really prepares us for that. We're taught to expect gray hair, maybe a few wrinkles, and the occasional backache, but not this deep ache in your heart when someone you raised, someone you loved fiercely, begins to feel like a stranger. That's why today I want to have a real conversation with you. Not the sugar-coated kind, not the everything's fine kind, but the kind of talk we should have had a long time ago. One that tells the truth about family as you get older. A truth that might sting at first, but will ultimately set you free. So let's begin with this. The moment money enters the picture, you start to see the real faces behind the family. Now I know that might sound harsh, but I've lived long enough to say this with honesty, and I'm guessing you have too. When you're in your 60s, 70s, or 80s, money doesn't just represent cash in the bank. It's your home, your land, your savings, your retirement, your will. It's everything you've worked your entire life to build. And when that becomes the subject of discussion or speculation, people change. Suddenly, the child who never visited is calling you more often. The niece who barely spoke to you is offering to help with errands. People smile more, they listen better. And while part of you wants to believe it's love, a deeper part suspects it might be something else. The hardest part is, sometimes, you're right. I've spoken to countless older adults who were devastated when their children argued over a house before the funeral even happened. Others who were manipulated into changing their will under pressure. Some who gave too much too soon, hoping to buy affection, only to be abandoned once the money was gone. It hurts, deeply. Because as a parent or a grandparent, your love is unconditional. But suddenly you realize, not everyone sees it the same way. Some see you not for who you are, but for what you have. And that realization, while painful, is also powerful. Because once you see it, you can start protecting yourself. You can make your decisions early, before anyone tries to sway you. You can speak to a lawyer you trust, not a relative who's just trying to help. You can give gifts while you're alive if you choose to, but never in a way that leaves you feeling scared or alone. And maybe most importantly, you can start paying attention. How do they treat you when money's not involved? When there's nothing to gain? Do they call just to hear your voice, or only when they need something? Do they show up with love or with a list of things they want? Because here's the truth that took me decades to learn. Love that depends on what you give isn't love, it's a transaction. And you deserve better than that. Your money is not your obligation. It's the fruit of your hard work. Use it to bring yourself comfort, to enjoy your life, to travel if you want, to fix the house, to buy the good coffee, to treat yourself kindly, because you earned it. And peace, not pressure, should be your reward. And if you do decide to leave something behind, let it be more than material things. Let it be the memory of your grace, your boundaries, your clarity. Let it be the example of someone who gave, not because they were forced, but because they were wise. You see, money has a way of revealing what's hidden. But once it does, you get to decide what to do with that truth. You get to take your power back, not by closing your heart, but by opening your eyes. Now I want to talk about something even harder, because it goes beyond money. It touches something much deeper, the kind of love you thought would last forever. You see, when you're younger, you believe love will always stay the same. You raise your children, pour everything into them, your time, your energy, your sacrifices. You skip vacations so they can go to college. You work long hours so they can have a better life. And you do it all without a second thought, because that's what love is. But then one day, things shift. Not all at once. It starts small. Maybe they call a little less. Maybe holidays get shorter. Birthdays go from full family gatherings to a quick message or a card in the mail. And then suddenly you realize you're not the center of their world anymore. It's not always out of cruelty. Sometimes it's just life. They have families of their own, careers, children. Their world has expanded, and you're no longer standing in the middle of it. But sometimes it is more than that. Sometimes they pull away because they've chosen to, because they're chasing something else, because they no longer see you as necessary, or because, deep down, they resent something they've never told you about. That's the truth no one wants to say aloud. Love can fade. Loyalties can shift. People grow, and not always in your direction. And that can break your heart if you let it. But you have another choice. Instead of clinging to what's leaving, you can begin building something new. Not outside, but within. You stop measuring your worth by how often the phone rings. You stop waiting by the window for the next visit. You stop trying to earn the love you already gave. You wake up. You make your own coffee. You go for a walk. You join a group, plant a flower, call a friend. You choose joy, not because life is perfect, but because it's still yours to live. And little by little, you realize something beautiful. Even if others forget your birthday, forget your stories, forget how much you gave, you don't have to forget yourself. Because your life, your real, deep, meaningful life, doesn't end when someone else walks away. It begins again when you stop chasing and start choosing. Choosing peace, choosing presence, choosing you. Let's pause here, take a breath together, and then keep going, because there's still more to uncover. And I promise, each truth brings you closer to the freedom you deserve. You know, one of the most surprising things about getting older isn't just how much your body changes. It's how the world changes around you. Or maybe it's always been this way, and we just never noticed it when we were busy raising children, paying bills, and putting food on the table. There was a time when growing old came with automatic respect. People would hold the door for you. Neighbors would stop by to check in. Your children would ask for your opinion, and actually listen. You didn't have to shout to be heard. You didn't have to prove yourself. Just being older was enough. But something's shifted, hasn't it? These days, it can feel like your years of wisdom don't carry the weight they once did. Conversations move too fast. Decisions are made without asking you. Sometimes you're spoken to like a child, or worse, like you're invisible. And that stings. Because inside, you're still the person who survived the hard times, who sacrificed for your family, who built something out of nothing. You've seen loss, love, war, peace, disappointment, and triumph. You've lived, and you still have so much to offer. But the truth is, respect isn't automatic anymore. You have to redefine your value, not for them, but for yourself. It starts with how you carry yourself. If you walk into a room already believing you don't matter, people will pick up on that. But if you enter with quiet strength, with calm confidence, with that steady light in your eyes, they'll notice. Maybe not all at once, and maybe not everyone, but the right people will. And here's the thing. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to argue or beg for someone to listen. When you speak from a place of clarity and experience, people either lean in or show you who they are by not doing so. That's when boundaries become your best friend. If someone, even a child or grandchild, speaks to you with disrespect, you can let them know, gently but firmly, that you won't tolerate that. Not because you're fragile, but because you value yourself too much to be spoken down to. You've carried this family through storms. You've made hard choices so others could live softer lives. Don't let anyone treat your story like it doesn't matter. Speak when you need to. Stand tall when it counts. And when they dismiss your words, let your actions speak louder. Stay informed. Keep your mind active. Read, explore, learn new things. Age is not a barrier to relevance. It's a badge of survival. You're not too old. You're seasoned. You're not in the way. You're a foundation. And anyone who can't see that, that's their limitation, not yours. So don't wait for respect to come knocking. Wear it like your favorite jacket, with quiet pride. Because when you honor yourself, you give others permission to do the same. And sometimes, that's all it takes to shift the entire dynamic of a family. Now let's talk about something that might sound simple at first, but it's more powerful than most people realize. It's something that, once you truly understand it, can protect your peace like nothing else. It's silence. You see, when we're young, we feel this need to defend ourselves constantly, to explain, to argue, to prove that we're right, especially in family. When someone talks behind your back, you want to confront them. When someone disrespects you, you want to shout. When your kids misunderstand your intentions, you want to explain everything until they see it your way. But with age comes a choice. You can spend your precious energy chasing closure from people who never wanted to understand you in the first place. Or you can choose silence. Not out of weakness, not because you've given up, but because you've grown. You've learned that not every fight is worth your breath. That sometimes silence says more than 1,000 carefully chosen words. That dignity doesn't shout. It stands still. You don't need to explain why you left that gathering early, why you said no to giving someone money, why you no longer chase people who only show up when they want something. You know your reasons. That's enough. There's peace in being misunderstood, when you stop needing to be understood. Silence is your armor. It shields you from drama, gossip, manipulation. It keeps your heart safe from unnecessary conflict. And it creates space. Space for you to feel, to think, to breathe. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. You sit back, sip your tea, look out the window, and let others wrestle with their own noise while you guard your peace. Because you've reached a stage in life where your serenity is more valuable than anyone's opinion. Where your health matters more than their drama. Where your self-respect matters more than being right. And that is a kind of power that only comes with age. So when someone tries to bait you into an argument, be still. When they twist your words, be still. When they forget everything you've done for them, be still. You are not required to play their game. You are allowed to rise above it. Not every story needs your voice. Not every moment needs your reaction. Your silence is not emptiness. It's full of everything you've already learned, and everything you now choose to protect. Let that be your legacy. Not one of fighting and explaining, but of quiet wisdom, boundaries, and grace. Because in the end, how you choose to carry yourself, in the presence of disrespect, of distance, of change, becomes the lesson you leave behind. And believe me, they'll remember. So here we are. We've talked about the truths that nobody really tells you. Not in parenting books, not at church, not even in late-night heart-to-hearts with friends. But if you've lived long enough, you've felt them. The silence, the distance, the disrespect. The uncomfortable realization that what you thought was permanent isn't. But now that you know these truths, and not just in your head, but in your bones, what do you do with them? You make peace with them. Because the goal here isn't to become bitter. It's not to shut people out, or carry a heavy heart, or build a wall so tall that no one can climb over it. No. The goal is to live your later years with more freedom than ever before. Freedom from guilt, freedom from proving yourself, freedom from chasing love that should have never run away in the first place. You begin to define your worth not by who remembers to call, but by how deeply you remember yourself. You stop asking, "Why didn't they?" and start asking, "What do I need today to feel whole?" You stop replaying the moments where you were overlooked, misunderstood, or left behind, and you start writing new pages, ones filled with laughter, calm mornings, your favorite coffee, warm socks, and good books. You lean into the quiet not because it's all you have, but because it's finally enough. You reach out to people who choose you, not because they feel obligated, but because they enjoy who you are, exactly as you are. A neighbor who waves and lingers. A friend from church who asks how you're really doing. That one grandchild who doesn't need a reason to visit. They just want to. Let those connections fill your spirit. You've spent a lifetime giving. Now it's your turn to receive. Not with expectation, but with open hands. And for those moments when the pain creeps back in, because it will, take a breath. Put your hand over your heart and remind yourself, you are not forgotten. You are not irrelevant. You are not too late. You are living proof that storms can be survived. That love, even when it fades in others, can still live strong inside of you. That dignity doesn't retire with age, it blooms. You still have time to smile, to walk in the sun, to hear music and feel something, to write a letter, to bake cookies just because, to take up something new, to let go of old wounds. You still have time to be the person you were always meant to be, not the caretaker, the provider, the fixer, the backbone of everyone else's life, but you. And that, my friend, is not just a truth. It's a gift. So if family changes, and it will, let it. You can grieve what was, honor what is, and still live fully in what remains. Because even if others walk away, you get to stay. You get to stay with you. And that is no small thing. I want you to know that your presence, your very existence, matters. You are valuable not for what you give or how much you leave behind, but for who you are when no one is watching. Let your final chapters be the ones you write on your own terms. Let them be filled with peace, not pressure. Boundaries, not bitterness. And most of all, love. The kind that begins with you and overflows, without needing anyone's permission. If this message speaks to you, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. You're not alone in this journey. There's a whole community of people just like you, wise, kind, and learning how to live strong, even in the quiet. If this video helped you feel a little more seen, a little more hopeful, or just a little more human, please like it and subscribe to Strong Elderly Life. Here, we believe that growing older is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of a new, powerful chapter. And as you walk forward, remember this. You don't need to be everything to everyone anymore. You only need to be enough for yourself. And you are. You are. Here's to living your best life, with peace in your heart, dignity in your step, and joy in your every breath. We're with you, always.